Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Gamer Dad channel. Today we're talking about the Division, and we have the Division 2 on the chopping block. So the Division developers over at Massive Ubisoft have released an Annex, which they've given an update for some of the changes that are going to be coming to the game. Now, I've started seeing a lot of different videos saying this is great news, this is game changing, and all of the above. Ladies and gentlemen, let's not kid ourselves. We all knew that we were going to be getting some kind of a change and a transformation because everyone in this community right now is no longer necessarily about the hype. We are more about the substance. And I think this should be recognized in our community. Just let's calm down and let's ask the developers more questions. You see, when they bring out something like this, it lends a lot of credibility to them if they would continue to speak on those things rather than just drop it and then go disappear into oblivion, because the last Annex and this Annex updates seem to be a very long time. We waited a lot for it, and then now we have this very interesting set of circumstances within which we're going to be playing the game, but we don't necessarily have anything more. Like, hey, so when you make all of this, all of these changes, how does that affect enemy NPC? How does that affect these levels of content? Does it affect the raid anyway? Because what's happening with the brand set game right now in the gear game is that it's going to be in a place where you as the agent can make your gear more powerful. So in my opinion, it's a soft leveling system. Some people have called it a shade, some kind of an alternative shade watch system, which I thought was a good idea. Actually, I thought, okay, if they could take another item and have you level that item up, like say, not necessarily Aaron Keena's shade watch, but maybe you could get, Fei Lao's, I don't know, one of her computer systems and, make your agent stronger. This could be something that could be good, but they decided that they were going to take it to the gear game. So, hey, I got to take what it is that we get, and that's fine. That will provide some grind. It will provide some playing. It will provide a lot of runs through Lincoln Memorial. If some of you want to keep running those missions, that'll be fine. Me, I enjoy running the legendary missions. So I guess those are the questions that we need to be asking right now, how this gear game is going to affect all of these things. Now, granted, there's going to be a PTS where we get to test it. But again, I've said many times again, which another question still arises, which I always want to continue to put out there, is if there'll be a PTS for the console community. There's a need for this to happen. And I know it's probably going to be challenging. It's probably going to take time. It's probably going to take resources. But what are we here for? What are the developers there for? I mean, if we're going to have this relationship of communication back and forth, or of them serving us and us actually patronizing them, then I feel like they need to take that step, however or whatever hoops they have to jump through, or whatever obstacles they have to jump over to make it happen for the community. Now, this gear game, the effects on the entirety of the game, the community, the current state of gaming, we have to make sure that we factor all these things into our conversations. Because if you go back and think and say, okay, well, with these new changes, is it enough to attract players to the game? The question is yes, to an extent, and also to an extent, no, because some people have said, if this is going to be another grind game, I don't want to do it. Some others have said, and I've been reading comments, that's where I get these opinions from. Some people have said, this gives me an excuse to continue to play the Division game and the Division 2. You see, I remember when we were approaching this November and holiday season, when a lot of these shooter games were trying to, make their way to the market, when there was a lot of marketing and talk. I remember I saw the comments that said Battlefield was going to kill the Division, or we weren't going to pay attention to what the Division is doing when Battlefield comes out, and Call of Duty and all of that. And I said to myself, man, I think people haven't learned that every time you kind of declare a game as the Division killer, it's like you place a curse on that game. So the Division is not necessarily like some huge groundbreaking game in the entirety of gaming as a whole. It's a groundbreaking game to those of us that are fans, but people out there don't necessarily care about our game. I mean, that's just the truth. Look at the streams on Twitch. Look at the views on YouTube. It's only us that enjoy the game, and there's nothing wrong with that. I don't need everybody to enjoy the game that I'm playing for me to feel like I enjoy my own game. Hence, the reason I only cover mostly the Division on this channel, if that's not clued many people in, to that. But again, it is noteworthy to say that these games are not competing with the Division. And even on top of that, many of them have been somewhat failures in their own right. For Call of Duty Vanguard right now, IGN has a video dedicated to some of the reasons why most Call of Duty fans are not playing Call of Duty Vanguard. And they got this from a lot of the different, interactions or even analyses that they've been doing to see why COD fans are skipping Vanguard. Some people in the comment section have even weighed in. So go to the comment section. You're going to hear raw thoughts from real gamers in many cases. Look at Battlefield. Battlefield basically has a Metacritic score that is representative of where many people feel the game is. There are glitches. There are different issues that the game is having. I don't play the game, so I don't necessarily know what these challenges are. Look at a game like Outriders, which is bringing out a new patch. It is still, in its own sense, going to draw people that are going to go to it, but the Division loyalists are going to, in a sense, return after finding out that these games are, in a sense, now approaching a place where they are mostly generic and mostly have the same premise and don't offer anything close to what the Division is. I'm being real. Tell me how unique Call of Duty Vanguard is, and I'll just say, okay, but do they have a seeker mine? They don't. Get out of here. That's just a simple question. I mean, like, the Division just provides all of these differences that you find in one shooter game that you can't even find glimpses of in many games out there. I'm not saying the Division is in a sense better or superior. No, they're different games, but the action and the engagements that you get in a game like this is unique from every other game out there. So it is, in my opinion right now, very well positioned as one of the best third-person RPG looter shooters out there. Even though you may think it's mediocre, it's still one of the best mediocre ones out there, if we were to weigh it that way. So where are we headed? Where is Massive going with all of this? And I know this is probably not the video you were expecting to get with this Annex, but I think Massive Ubisoft is laying the foundation to be able to reveal their Division 3 game. And some people would say this is crazy. They're not making a Division 3 game. And I would say you're crazy. Why would you say they're not going to make another game for a potential 40 plus million audience members? In fact, I think right now is the ripe time for them to have another Division game to introduce to everybody out there. And I think it needs to be a game that has a longevity mindset, a game that is going to be set up to be able to run for not only 2 years like Julian Garrity's vision of the Division 2, but 6 to 8 years, something that will probably last as long as, say, maybe even Destiny 2 or the next Destiny iteration if Bungie decides to go that route. And the reason is because, you see, burnout is starting to set in. A lot of the established franchises that have done 20 or more different iterations of their games are starting to get old for a lot of gamers who want something of more substance. You see, the demographics of gamers that have played the Division are the demographics of gamers that are much more mature. Our audience and our demographics here is ranging from, the young dad all the way to granddad status. That's basically what it is. I mean, I'm not, dogging on anybody's age, but many of you in the community, you've introduced yourselves to me and actually told me your age. Like, you are seasoned gamers who have gamed from the onset of gaming. And so I think more and more as the demographics continue to shift, a lot of those gamers who enjoyed the really lax games are going to be looking for something more. And a game like this will continue to appeal to them. It's a numbers game. I cannot give the Division to many people before they'll be like, what is this? What percentage stuff affects all of this stuff? When I explain the Division to people, they check out. People my age sometimes. Imagine trying to appeal to 18-year-olds. So as those 18-year-olds are turning 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, I think Massive Ubisoft finds itself in a very unique position. But they have to make sure that if they're going to appeal to that audience, they have to make sure that they bring the OG audience along with them. That OG audience is really going to make for a solid base because the Division is a community game. We're going to be the ones that will introduce the newbies into exactly what this game is about. You've met those people, right? You're running a mission. There's a person who tells you, hey, I just picked up this game and I'm just basically stuck playing it and I don't even understand what I'm doing, but I'm enjoying this game. And you're like, oh, okay. You drop a few gear sets for them. You explain what weapons are. You explain what talents are. You explain what stats are. And they're just excited. You just made their day. I think this is the opportunity that Massive has, and they need to continue to lay these foundations, talking to the community as much as they can. They don't have to do it perfectly. You see, I think perfection is what's going to destroy a lot of these game development companies in many cases. They want to just communicate in the most polished way to their own audience members, and they just fail to realize that even their developers and even they themselves are just like everybody else. They just like video games. But I think Massive Ubisoft in the Division side may have learned a few things or two. So we'll see how they continue with all of this. But I wanted to just keep you guys updated as to just basically my thoughts, basically my position, my stance on what's going on in the community. A lot of this stuff is not surprising. In fact, I started to see, I would say I started to see reactions start almost boiling up when the Annex had not dropped it on Twitter. People were getting edgy, antsy. Some people were already declaring Massive as evil and liars and all that. And then boom, like 20 minutes later, the Annex dropped and everybody kind of, calmed down a little bit to analyze it. So it's interesting to continue to watch all of this go down. But like I've said many, many times, they have money to make and we hold the calling cards. We need to recognize that as a community of gamers, and we just need to let them work. And then when they're ready, they bring what it is that they have. If we like it, we buy. If we don't like it, we say take it back and go clean it up. Talk to you guys in another video. Thanks so much for listening and watching. Peace out.